Just wanted to start with Psalm 34, 17, 18. The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. That's the guys that we work with, crushed in spirit. So, Carl Beach, the founder of the Christian Vision for Men, once said, you have two conversations with Christ in your life. The first is when you give your heart to Jesus, and the second is when God breaks your heart open and your eyes opens your heart and your eyes are opened to the poverty that people less fortunate than yourselves. So the guys that we work with are mainly in addiction, homeless, and in recovery. Yeah, we've branched out into recovery now, which it's an amazing opportunity that we get to bless those guys by they come and they become a volunteer, and then we employ them, and we've done that quite a lot, but I'll go on to that a bit later on. We try to offer hope to people that their lives can be changed, and that's what we try to do, and we try to do that through practical, physical, emotional, and spiritual, and lots of love, because sometimes that's all we can do. Can't do anything other than love our guys. So we're big, and I think I've already done it, but we're big huggers around at Gloucester City Mission, and we love to share our love and the love of Jesus with a great big hug. So in the Bible, it repeatedly tells us in Deuteronomy that 15:11, there will never cease to be the poor in the land, and therefore I command you, you shall open wide the hands to your brothers and to the needy and the poor in the land. That's what we do, because most of our guys they've got very little, and we share the love. We share everything that we possibly can with those guys, but we also share Jesus and we share God, and we do that really gently, and we offer prayer wherever possible, and we plant that little seed, and we keep watering that little seed. That's what we're trying to do anyway. We believe that the Bible tells us how we should support the poor, the oppressed, the outcasts. It refers listen to me a little bit. I'll share with you a bit later, but it's been a real emotional week for me, but you'll get to know about that a little bit later. Sorry. The vast majority of the people we work with are like you and me. And we forget that. Lots of these guys are married. It might be a breakup of a relationship. I used to run the night shelter, and I had the manager of a big furniture store. He was one of my guys sleeping on the floor at night, and it amazes me. We forget that it could happen to each and every one of us. That drugs, alcohol, they're everywhere around us, more so now than ever before. And homelessness is getting wider and bigger as well, but more families as well, which is not, that's not what we want. God so loved the world that he gave his son, his only son, to die for us. Thank you. So no matter what, he loves us, and that's what we try and tell our guys and show them how much Jesus does and God loved them. And sometimes that's the only love they have, that they haven't been in a loving family, that they haven't had mums and dads that have loved them, or grannies or aunties and uncles or family friends. It's been their life. Their life has just been trauma, and that's what they've lived with. So we work in three ways. Our first way is aid, and that is with our street teams. So we've got street teams that go out 5 times a week, offering prayer, drinks, promises, and just signposting, making sure they're well. Because some of these guys, they don't have anybody. They have nobody. So Nathan, our retreat manager, he gets in very early and goes at 7:30, and he sweeps the whole of Gloucester, just checking that they're all alive, that they're still where they should be, which I just think is really lovely. They don't realise quite how special that is. until they catch him at 7:30 in the morning, and then they'll come in at 10 and they'll say, "Why were you looking at me at 7:30 this morning?" And he's saying, "Just checking you're all right." And that really touches them, that someone actually cares. So Nathan runs Retreat. Retreat is a day centre that we used to run a night shelter, which was what I did. And then we couldn't afford to fund it. We self-fund. And my previous boss, Kev, went out and asked the guys, if we can't run the night shelter, what do you want? And they said a day centre. So that's what we opened. So that's opened 4 days a week, soon to be open on a Saturday morning as well, which will be a real treat for the guys. But they can come from 10 till 3 and get a hot shower, hot food, crash pads, to sleep, because you don't get much sleep on the street, because you're watching all the time and you're listening, and or the street cleaner comes along, or there's a delivery man, and that's, so the sleep is very rare. So they can come and they can crash for a few hours safely and get a shower. Nath does their laundry for them, so they can bring a bag of laundry and he washes that for them during the week, and then they can collect it the following week. And then we provide them with clean clothes and new underwear. We never give second-hand underwear, because I wouldn't wear it, and I don't suppose you would. So dignity is what we do, when we would just refuse to do that. Then we've got Refresh, which is our weekly, it's a Wednesday. That's why we don't open Retreat on a Wednesday, because they can come and get hot food then. So it's open to anybody who's vulnerable or is homeless, where they can come and they can get a hot meal, get a bit of prayer, a promise, just to chat. And just, we have a vicar, she comes along and she's there. She works mainly with the street ladies, but she's always there blessing us and blessing the guys. And then twice a week we open Restore. Restore is a clothes store where they can come and get clean clothes, new underwear and toiletries. And that's not just the homeless, because they can get that anytime. That's open permanently for them. It's for anybody who's vulnerable, who just can't afford it, because that's what it's like at the moment. And then we've got an outreach mobile that goes out of the city, because we forget about the out of city, because they're not visible. So we've got ways of finding out where they are, and Johnny goes out and with aid in the van, and they go and just emergency provisions, maybe a bit of hot food and something for them that they can store away, because it's not easy to find food if you're out of town. Water, obviously, and clean clothes, and maybe another quilt, and they'll take that other quilt away and re-launder it for them, so they've got a dry one. And then there's Transform, and we do that through their lives. That's Renew. So we've got Renew, which is a training centre, our main office, and the training centre is where we run multiple courses, but I'm going to come to that in a minute. And then we've got Refuel, which is our monthly worship session for staff, volunteers and clients, and anybody who wants to come along, really. And it's now held in my office, our office, but it's lovely. I'm tapping away on the computer, but I'm also like, I can worship God at the same time and be praying, and it's lovely. So then we do Embrace. Embrace is just amazing. It's a Thursday evening group of males, and there's about 10 of them, and they're all on a path to find Jesus, and they're all in recovery. And it's run by one of our not volunteer, he's a trustee. He runs Kingfisher Church, Ollie Bennett. And they meet and they eat together and they talk together. And it's a 10-week course where at the beginning of the 10 weeks, they all put a little something in an envelope, a goal they want to make by the end of the 10 weeks. And that can be something as simple as paying a debt off, or going to the dentist or the doctor. And then at the end of the 10 weeks, they open this little envelope and see if who's achieved. They might be tiny little milestones to us, but to someone who's struggling in recovery, they're massive. We forget that. And then we offer Enable. We enable. So this is amazing what happens there. And we've got a little cafe called Revive. And it's in Eastgate Shopping Centre. I don't know if anybody's been there, but it's run by people who are in recovery. So most of them have been volunteers for us, and then they get employed. So I'll give you an example of Dan. So Dan's been there for 4 months now. He came to us about 8 months ago and was desperate for a job very early in recovery and in a dry house. So I was really wicked. I said, I need to get you to volunteer, like you're a paid member of staff, to show me that you've got commitment. And that's exactly what he did for 4 months. He turned up as if he was being paid to do that shift. And he has just been an absolute treasure. He's brought so much love and light into the building, and it's just amazing. So he's employed. And the other two are also employed. Excuse me. So they're both in some sort of recovery. So that to me is just massive, isn't it? These guys would not get that chance to do that, and I just love it. And so quite a few of our staff are in recovery. We've got Johnny, Nicole, Darren, Maisie, and Dan. 5 people we now employ that are all in recovery. And that's an opportunity that most of those guys would not get. I just love that we do that. And they always want to give something back as well. So they're like, and I'm like, come on, off you go, Johnny especially. And he's like, no, I'm fine to give a few hours. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. And he's like, I can. I want to volunteer as well. So yeah, they're always giving back. In our education centre, we run courses there. So we've got the local education come in as well, but it's open 5 days a week, and the specific courses that we run there are for people in recovery. Guys who are still in addiction, they don't want to sit in a classroom and do mindfulness. So those are some of the things we do: mindfulness, cooking. We do one-to-one literacy and numeracy, because lots of the guys who have gone through addiction didn't do school, can't read, can't write. Let's do these forms. And they look at you. So we do that as well. We've got a lady who was a teacher, and she does one-to-one. So that's brilliant. So we have we've got other things going on in there, like garden. So out in the garden, but they're run from the training centres. We've got gardening. I said mindfulness, but mindfulness. So that's another. So we've got. Sorry, that's another one, 6, because we've got Alice as well. Alice is our cleaner, and Alice is one of those, those people who everything just is so slow and but they always get everything done, and they're just lovely, soft, beautiful people. She did the mindful course that we did, and Lindsay, the mindful instructor, came to me. She said, Louise, she said, Alice has got a natural. I'd love to train her up. Of course, there's always a financial. And we've got a bursary fund, and it was going to cost £750. So we paid. Alice is now one of our mindful instructors, and she's just finished her first 10-week course, and she's just starting her next one. So that's another. I just think that's lovely. And if you're ever around Gloucester, say, can we meet Alice? Because she's beautiful. She's just one of those people who their heart, you can just feel it when you meet her. And she knows, because she's been in addiction, so she knows exactly what these guys need. Other things that we run from there are DWP, homeless healthcare for the homeless guys, because they don't go to the doctors. They may know that they need to go to the doctor, that their leg is so ulcerated, but they don't want to go to the doctor because it means that they can't go out in school. So they'd rather not go to the doctor. So they're in with us, and the doctors and the nurses are there, so their legs are dressed there and then. Then we've got a podiatrist that comes every 6 weeks, and then we've got an optician on a Monday. We all take for granted, don't we? But they're there, and they can come in. Anybody, in fact, can come to that one. And then we've got the council come in, and P3 for housing. So it's all under one roof. All that guidance and support that they need, that they won't do because they're lazy, some of them, or they want to do what they need to do, or they just can't be bothered. So there's no getting away with it. When you come to us as a homeless person, you have to connect with these people, because we don't want you on the street. And we don't want you to be in addiction for the rest of your life. We want to help you out of that. So let's see. How can you as a family, a church family, help us? So there is other bits, because I'm going to give you a bit of a story in a minute. So you can pray for our clients, and you can pray for our volunteers and our fundraising. We've got events coming off. So we've got a quiz night on the 16th of November, and we've got our carol concert. If you could make that, it is an amazing night. It's on the 29th of November in Gloucester Cathedral. And last year we had to get extra seats in. It was so busy and so packed. And we've got Churchdown Male Voice Choir and Hillview School are singing. And it is just amazing. It's just start of Christmas, isn't it? And celebrating Jesus. So donations, we are so blessed, and they just keep growing. But there are certain things, especially this time of year, and they're silly things like cans of Coke, because our guys don't get that, and they love sugar. It keeps them going. So just silly random things that we can treat them with that we just take for granted. Chocolate as well, biscuits, that sort of thing. We have lots of people donating through financial support. We also have our volunteers, and without our volunteers, Gloucester City Mission would not run. They are amazing. Like the street team, they come out, whether it's raining, snowing, the wind is blowing, there's a weather warning, they're there. And then we've got the two little old ladies who come in every Tuesday to do the gardening and support the guys in the garden. It's just amazing. And we would, as I said, we would not be able to run Gloucester City Mission without that. So, how did I get to be at Gloucester City Mission? You may ask yourself. This is when it's probably going to get a little emotional. If I cry, I apologise. So 12 years ago, I didn't have a relationship with God, and I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. And I was very sad. My husband was an alcoholic. And then my daughter was diagnosed with arthritis and was addicted to over-the-counter prescription, which I did to her at 15 to get her out of bed in the morning. And then she was eventually she was given a drug, an injection called methotrexate. And whilst that was happening, she was having injections into every part of her body. And then she got well. And I'm told it was through the injection. Then my son was hit by a car. And they said when I got there that Lewis would probably, if he lived for 75 hours, he would spend the rest of his life in a vegetative state. Anyway, on Thursday, it was my son's wedding. God has been so good to me. My son, if you met him, he's a little bit quirky, but other than that, you would not know. He's worked very hard. And he went along to Mariners Church and did an Alpha course. And he said, Mum, will you come with me? And I did the Alpha course. And then I said, Maisie, will you come with me? So Maisie came along and did the Alpha course. By this time, she was extremely poorly again. If anybody knows anything about arthritis, the fluid in her body was at 89. It should be 0 to 7, thereabouts. So she was unable to even squeeze toothpaste on toothbrush. She was on, as I said, addicted to over-the-counter medication and on methotrexate. And then they put her on Enbrel. And she was lucky if she did 2 days at school. And we went along and did the Holy Spirit weekend. And my daughter, it was Mother's Day, and I dosed her up and took her into the Holy Spirit weekend, left her and sat outside, and she came out, and that's the last day my daughter took a drug. Yeah, praise Lord. So you can see, can't you, 2 blessing miracles that I've had in my life. Why I love Jesus and I love God, and I want everybody to have a little bit of him. Do you know what I mean? And everything with him is possible. So, and then I became a cook at the church, and we would the meals for the homeless. And then I went off and I branched out a little bit and went to Gloucester City Mission and did a lot of voluntary work. And then I become their night shelter manager. And then that's where I've grown from. So that's me, and that's Gloucester City Mission. So I'd just like us just to have a little prayer before we go. So, Jesus, I thank you. I thank you for all the wonderful things that you have done in and around Gloucester City Mission, that you have made today possible, that we are here today to worship you, Jesus, and thank you for the miracles that you perform. We thank you that you are ever present, and that we just lift our glory up to you, Jesus, and we thank you. And please wrap your protection over those in the service of Gloucester City Mission and those who work as volunteers there, and can you continue to offer your love to them all. whatever plans you have for GCM and for us personally, let us open our hearts and minds and be ready to step out. In Jesus' name, amen.